Hello, this is Spartan Commander, and this is the 121st Rome Total War Brotherhood game that I've put onto YouTube. The team I'm in today consists of Brotherhood member Spartan Leonidas, who has bought the Rome SBQR faction. Then we have Brotherhood member Killer B. If you noticed, he's on the beginning of his name, he's got Elitsa. As I've said in other battle videos, that is an ancient clan going right back to the roots of Rome Total War that Killer got to hear about. And I think by putting Elitsa on the front of his name, it's kind of his way of keeping that clan, ancient clan's name alive. But it is Brotherhood member Killer B. The next member of our team is Titans Hades, who has bought the Rome Scipio faction. As you know, Titans Hades is a great player, and the Titans clan is a good clan. And then myself, Spartan Commander, who has bought the Rome Scipio faction. So there's our team there. I think it's a pretty good team, but you wait till you see the other team. It should be a great game to watch. At this stage of the battle, I thought we'd have a quick look at Brotherhood member Killers B Greek Cities army. As you can see here, he split his Spartans into two battle groups there, if you like, or two mini armies, as you can see. And there's a close-up of the Spartans there. As you know, they've got excellent morale and 2 hit points, and are incredible, really difficult to kill, and they're incredible infantry. Then he's got 6 Cretan archers. As you know, they've got long distance and do a lot of damage. So to have 6 is unusual. But here is an even more unusual thing. If you notice that Killer has bought 2 general cav units here. Now these guys are fast moving and are reasonably hard hitting, but you don't often see light cavalry or general cavalry units bought with the Greek cities army. So all in all, it's quite an unusual Greeks army and Greeks formation, but all will be revealed as the battle continues. And here is the other team. We have Heaven's Kodak, who has bought the Germania faction. Then we have TNG Indy, who has bought the Rome Giulio faction. Then we have Heaven's Elita Legionari, who has bought the Rome Giulio faction. And their final teammate is RTW player Hannibal Barker, who has also bought the Rome Giulio faction. So there is the other team, full of great players, and this should be a really good battle for you to watch. At this stage of the battle, I thought I'd ask a question here for newer players to Rome Total War. Now you've seen the factions on the other team, why do you think that Killer has split his army and bought 2 fast-moving cavalry units? Just for new players to the game. Now you've seen the other factions, why do you think Killer's done this with his army? Right, okay, well, the reason he's done this is because we're facing Germania. Now those of you that have seen my other battle videos on Germania can see how effective they are. So what Killer's done here, he has bought his Greek cities army here, split the Spartans into 2 mini armies. So this gives him the flexibility to be able to move those 2 armies to wherever the berserkers are going to attack. Also, if you notice, he's got 6 Cretan archers. Now obviously the Germania faction are very susceptible to arrow fire and causes great casualties to them, so that's why he's bought 6 long-range Cretan archers there, so that he can do as much damage to the berserkers as possible before they get close, and to the German army in general. But did you know that berserkers can be activated or set off by enemy units attacking them, and once those berserker units have gone berserk, the Germania general has no longer got any control over them at all, and the activated berserker units would just charge for the nearest enemy unit. So Killer, by bringing these 2 fast-moving cavalry units, is hoping to be able to hit those German berserkers and activate them and start them off. But as I say, the Germania general would have no control on them if he can do that. Here you can see Killer controlling the 2 fast-moving cavalry units here to try and get to the berserkers. Unfortunately, one of his fast-moving cavalry units just been caught by the heavy enemy cavalry there, and that one unit's been routed. But he's got another unit up at the back there, which I dare say that he'll just keep away from the main enemy armies until he's ready to use it. But that's what his thoughts are there, to try and get one of those fast-moving cavalry units into the berserkers to activate them and get them charging at the nearest units. At this stage of the battle, I thought we'd have a look at Heaven's Kodak's German army here. As you can see at the front, he's got the Night Raiders. Now, the Night Raiders are very tough infantry, but also they've got a fear factor. They intimidate nearby enemy troops. And of course, if a nearby enemy unit is battle damaged, the scare factor from those units could make them rout. Then we have the infamous Chosen Axemen. These guys are effective against armour and have got excellent morale, and used properly can cut massive holes through Roman infantry. Then we have the berserkers here, the infamous berserkers. I wanted to show you this because can you see the size of the berserkers up against ordinary troops? Can you see how big and powerful those berserkers are? These berserkers are based on real characters that used to fight years ago. They used to have mental health problems. They used to drink a cocktail of drugs or were drunk when they went into battle, and when they actually got into battle, then the bloodlust started. They really did go berserk. They also had an aura about them outside the battlefield, as much as say, keep away from me, I'm dangerous. And these men were avoided both in battle and outside of battle. And in RTW, these guys' specifications are very much reflect the way that those berserkers were. These guys are effective against armour, and they've got an incredible fear factor where they can intimidate nearby troops and can cause mass rout if used properly. So there's the Germania infantry there. And then we move over to their Gothic cavalry. As I said in other videos, the Gothic cavalry I think are very underestimated cavalry. If we look at their specs, they're really tough. So that is a really good Germania army, and this should be a great battle for you to watch. At this very early stage of the battle, I thought I'd just show you an in general, if you like, overview of the entire battlefield there, so you can see what's actually happening. Can you see Killer's two mini armies there in position at the rear of our Roman armies? They're just ready to move when he sees the German berserkers move to one flank or the other. He'll be able to move one of those armies. As I say, having two Spartan mini armies there kind of really makes the Greek cities formation very flexible there to be able to help their allies if the berserkers attack. So as I say, that's a general overview there. I think once the battle starts off, it should be an extremely exciting battle, and it'll be interesting to see how well Germania does in this one. At this stage of the battle, one of Killer's fast-moving cavalry has activated one of the Germania berserkers. Can you see the flashing banner, the flashing red banner on and off? Killer's unit has just activated that berserker unit, and can you see the berserker unit is just charging for the nearest enemy unit there as he charges in. Do you notice Killer brought his Greek cities units across there? Because as you know, Germania will die quite quickly. Now if you notice, the berserker is no longer activated. Did you notice that its banner is no longer flashing red on and off? And that's because the unit is so scared of being surrounded by so many enemy forces, kind of frozen, and it's kind of deactivated, and it is no longer in berserker mode here. If you notice that, notice it's not flashing anymore. It's because it's, as I say, it's surrounded by so many enemy troops, and it becomes scared itself. It kind of freezes, and it's no longer in berserk mode. So for new players watching this, you might not have seen that before, but that's where it happens. It's so scared, it's kind of just stopped going berserk there. So my guess is that now that unit has stopped going berserk, I would think that it will be killed quite quickly by all the allied forces around it there. And as you see, every single man in that unit has been killed, and that berserker unit is now dead. So do you see how important it is if you can spark off, if you can activate a Germania berserker unit then this is what can happen to them, because those 3 berserker units are extremely powerful and can cause Roman armies to mass rout. So by killing one of those units there, you've kind of, if you like, weakened the Germania army by a third, if you like, of its berserkers. So that was a nice little move by Killer there with his fast moving cavalry. If you notice now, the Germania army is at the back of their allies now, just waiting to look for an opportunity to try and hit one of the enemy armies there, as far away from the spears if possible. At this stage, on our right flank, you can see the enemy Julii infantry and cavalry attacking our ally here on the right. As you can see, there's a lot of pilot exchanges going on as well as fighting there. If you notice, our allies move some of his Greek city Spartan units over there to support the ally there on the right. If you see, there's some cavalry hits going into the centre there as well. I was saying in the centre, looking at how the infantry are positioned, those are kind of like nuisance hits there, weakening hits there in the centre there by cavalry. Looking at how the infantry is positioned, I wouldn't think there's going to be a lot of activity in the centre at the moment. It appears over here on the right. If you notice that the enemy Julii general there has put the units that are facing the Greek cities into Testudo. Putting units into Testudo against Pike factions is kind of, if you like, the general thing that Roman generals do, as the Testudo units are extremely difficult for the Pike units to kill. So that's why he's done that there. Meanwhile, over on the left flank there, you can see that there's a bit of activity going on the left, with if you like, lightning cavalry hits going in, and lots of pilot exchanges going in there as well. Kind of just those cavalry units hitting my forward pilot shield units in open order. It's kind of like just weakening them. The little hits causing casualties, pulling back quick. It's nice little cavalry hits there. As I say, I'm trying to give you a, if you like, an overview of the entire battlefield. So trying not to miss anything here, and you can see everything that's actually going on there. Nice little cavalry hit there by our Scipioid ally there. Come charging in there, routed at least 4, I think, of the enemy Julii cavalry and infantry units there. Nice little lightning strike. You see, sometimes you don't need a big, massive cavalry strike. Just send in 2 or 3 units. An opportune moment onto some weakened units, and bang, you can cause several routs there. Nice little move there by our ally. Meanwhile, over here on the right, you can see that there's still a lot of action going on there. The centre seems to be a bit quiet at the moment. Not a lot going on in the centre. And over on our left flank, you can see there's a bit of action going on there as well. As you can see, the Julii infantry moving a bit more forward there. But if you notice that Killer, using his experience there, has spread out his Spartan pikemen very, very cleverly there, and making it very difficult for the Germania general to decide where he's going to commit his Germania army. Remembering that the Germania army is very, very susceptible to damage by pikes, and they will lose nearly all their army on pikes and mass rout. So the Germania general's got to be extremely careful where he, as I said, where he commits his troops. And of course, Killer will be making it as difficult as he can by spreading his Spartans out to try and counter any Germania and specifically berserker charges. As I said before in the game, the berserkers have got such a high fear factor and intimidate troops so badly that those berserkers can spark off mass routs. I think those of you that's watched a battle video I put on, I think it was 2 or 3 battles ago, where Killer and myself and another teammate showed how effective Germania can be with good teammates who understand and know how devastating the berserkers and the Germania army can be if used correctly and take advantage of certain situations on the battlefield. As you can see here in the center, it's still pretty quiet in the center. Just seems to be on the flanks that things are kicking off a little bit. You can see a lot of enemy cavalry over here on the right flank. I thought for a moment there that the Julii general might have engaged the pikes that are there, and then maybe bring the berserkers round the flank and the Germania army round the flank there, but they decided not to do that. But then again, I suppose Killer would just move his pikes over to face the Germania flank attack if they tried that. Meanwhile, over here on our left flank, you can see there's lots of pilot exchanges going on, but not a lot of actual fighting going on there on our left flank. As you can see here now on the left, the Julii general's moved the bulk of his infantry forward now in a very threatening stance, although he's not really attacking yet, but he's got his infantry there kind of almost ready for the attack. And he's got his cavalry backing up behind him. Meanwhile, over on our right flank here, you can see that there's a lot of cavalry, if you like. Like I said before, it reminds me of a hammer on a rifle being pulled back and just waiting for the trigger to be pulled there with all that cavalry there. As I say, the Germania army is just sat at the back there, just waiting to see which direction he's deciding he's going to attack in. Over here on our left flank, you can see that the enemy is starting to push in a little bit here now. As I say, there's 4 cavalry units out there ready to charge in when that Julii general decides it's time to charge in. Let's say in the centre here, it's been very quiet in the centre. It's been the 2 flanks that have seen most of the action there. But even over on our right flank here, you can see that Killer's pulled his one of his mini Spartan armies back there. Just waiting to see where that Germania army at the rear is going to move. As I say, I think Killer's, by spreading his Spartan mini armies out so much, has made it incredibly difficult for that Germania general to know where he's going to hit. Bearing in mind that those pikes will destroy the Germania army quite quickly if they attack in the wrong place. As you can see here, some cavalry attacks coming into my forward units here. Some Julii cavalry charging in there. All the time, not meaning to kind of charge right into my main battle line, but just hitting them, just to kind of weaken my forward pilot shield units there. I think if Killer had just bought an ordinary Roman army instead of pikes there, I think this battle would have probably been over by now, and the Germania army would have attacked probably on one flank or the other. So by Killer bringing this this pike army and spreading it out as he has, he's really caused the enemy team a bit of a headache here, and it's so difficult for them to know where to attack. And also, it's a patience game as well. You know, because that Germania general could be, you know, gradually getting impatient, and you know, he could be thinking, where am I going to attack? And if you get impatient, if you get kind of maybe a little bit frustrated, you could actually send your Germania army in the wrong place. And so really, it is really a patience game here for the Germania general to try and see where a weak spot is that he can send his army in. Those of you that have commanded Germania armies against another team with pike factions know exactly what I'm saying here when I say that. But new players watching this, very often it can be a patience game if you bring Germania. You see, there's a lot of activity out to our right now. If you notice that the Julii enemy team has actually brought out infantry out to our wide right there, which for all intents and purposes looks like there could be a big attack on our right flank there. But bearing in mind that Killer's got what is it, 6 units of Spartans out there, I'm not sure if the Germania general would decide to go in there. It's very difficult for the enemy team in this situation. As you can see, the Roman Julii infantry moving forward there, probably with a view, from what I can see here, to attack. As you can see, there's reinforcements coming from my flank, the left flank, over to the right. So, can anybody, new players watching this, can you see now that the enemy facing me, because he's moved reinforcements over to the other flank, is now depleted in numbers. So what I'm going to do now, from being defensive, I'm now going to become aggressive and use my superior numbers to try and take out the units that are facing me. If you notice there, can you see the Germanian cavalry coming in to support his ally there? But if you notice there, I spotted that danger and turned my cavalry to attack that Germania cavalry. Also, I'm sending in more infantry units there as well. So really the only thing that Germania general can do now is pull his cavalry back at this moment. As I say, what I'm trying to do there is just destroy the rest of the Julii infantry that are there, and then I've got a view then, if I can take those units out then, to move to the centre and start trying to roll the enemy out from the left to right if I can. If you notice here, there's a enemy Julii cavalry charge coming in onto the onto our allies' Scipio units there. But if you notice there, our ally is very aware of that and is counter-attacking with some cavalry units himself there. It certainly looks like the enemy attack is going to be on the right flank here, from what I can see here. It's where they seem to have mustered most of their attacking forces. And there you can see the Germania army is actually in the centre as well. Meanwhile, over on our left here, as I say, I'm trying to take out the last of those few Julii units that were there, and now what I want to try and do is move my army up to the centre, from the left to the centre now, and start trying to take out the enemy team from the flank and the rear as I move up. That's what my intention is. And of course, if I can charge my cavalry into the rear of engaged enemy troops, then we could start routing a lot of enemy units at this time. As you can see, a lot of the Julii army. I'm going for the general there. Can you see the Julii general there? Can you see I'm trying to swamp it with cavalry hits there, trying to get there? Can you see that general, Julii general, is now routed? So of course, those of you that's watched other battle videos of mine will know that Julii army, where that general was in charge, morale will now drop considerably. So that was a good targeted cavalry hit there. If you notice over here to our left, we've got a lot of cavalry units from both sides, almost ready to charge in there. If you notice here, can you see the red flashing banners on and off of the German berserkers? Their berserkers have now been activated now, along with the rest of the German army are attacking. If you notice here, yeah, can you see the red banners flashing on and off? So the berserkers have been activated now, and they're charging into where my army is. If you notice, I charged a cavalry attack into them. If you notice here, there's a big cavalry attack coming into some of my units there. They're probably going for my general unit here. See the German cavalry? Bang! As it goes straight into my units. They're trying to kill my general. Obviously, the experience of the general, the German general, they're telling him if he can kill my general, then the morale of my troops would drop. So that's why he went for my general. But if you notice now, I'm counter-attacking with my cavalry. And I think I've thrown in some infantry units there as well. You can see, I think there's one berserker man left in that berserker unit. He's just been killed. As you can see now, a lot of the Germania army are starting to rout. As I say, Germania can be a battle-winning troops, but they've got kind of a frailness about them as well. And if you kind of put them into the wrong kind of situation, they can mass rout. They'll die quickly and will mass rout. But it was extremely difficult there for the Germania general to attack, because killers and pikemen were spread all up and down the battle line there. It was very difficult for him. As you can see, there's still a lot of Julii infantry left here. Can you see my Scipii cavalry? I'm going to charge into the back of these engaged enemy Julii troops here, with a view obviously to rout them. Remember, if you charge a cavalry into the rear of engaged enemy troops, very often they will rout. As you can see there, a lot of those units rout. Now if you look to the left, can you see, I can see the rear of engaged enemy Julii infantry as well. So I'm going to switch from that flank and charge my cavalry straight away over into the left. Can you see? Charging over into the rear of those engaged enemy Julii infantry there. So I moved from one side to the other there with that cavalry, and managed to rout the enemy infantry that are there. So there's just a few, I think it's just a few Germania units left there. And when those Germania units get a little bit battle damaged, their morale really drops, and they they tend to rout quite quickly then. As I say, Germania is a very strange faction really, because as I say, they can be battle winning, battle turning troops, but they have got a frailty, a strange frailty about them that, as I say, if you put them into maybe the wrong situation and they start getting a lot of casualties, they will just mass rout. So they are kind of a bit of a difficult faction to use. But as you can see, looking at the dead on the battlefield here from one side to the other, this was a really intense battle. Very tactical. It reminded me a little bit of a chess game there. Did you see how the enemy were moving their units around, and that Germania general was kind of almost desperately looking for where he could actually charge his army in to make the difference. Right, the first thing I'd like to say is really well played to everybody in the team. As I say, I thought that was kind of almost like a chess game there, with the tactical moves that were being done all over the battlefield there. I thought the other team played extremely well. I must say I did have a bit of sympathy for the Germania general there, fighting with Germania a lot myself in the past. When you're facing a team with a good pike general and that spreads his pikes out, it is very difficult. And like I say, really well played to the team I was in as well. I thought all three of them played extremely well there in their tactics, their movements, and general covering of the battlefield. So once again, really well played to everybody. The Spartan Commander saying, hope you enjoyed the battle, and bye for now.